Okay, fast forward 10 months later, we get married. Where do we get married? Las Vegas,
Las Vegas,
guys.
baby.
Because a lot of people ask us, like, what was our background before? What did we do? We had a different life during this time, right? And so we're going to nightclubs and doing things like that.
I'm going to share who this artist is because something happened in this time of me working with her that was very, very significant. So one of the destinations for the tour was Israel.
This is a house of love, house of love. This is a house of love. We a house of love. This is a house of love, house of love. This is a house of love. We a house of love.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Kiva here.
Hava here.
House of Lev. We back at it once again for the 700th time. It's not 700 videos. Maybe with the shorts. I don't think it's 700. That's a lot. Couple hundred though, for sure.
Not 700. That's a lot.
Yeah, miss you guys. Hope you're doing good. Hope all is well. Excuse my voice. It's a little bit kind of silly today. Not silly.
It's just both of our voices are kind of raspy and out. We're getting over like coughs and not feeling well. So
I had this crazy stomach bug. I guess it's something that everybody's getting right now. I don't know if it's happening in America like that, but out here in Israel, everybody getting this stomach bug, and you just like, it's the bubble guts, it's throwing up, it's all kinds of stuff. And so I got it over Shabbat, and it was brutal. But Baruch Hashem, my stomach feels better, but it took my voice out. So every day I get a little bit better, thank God. Yeah.
And I've just been under the weather, so it's like, I don't know, a mix of a lot of stuff.
Yeah, before Shlema to my wife. And let this video be before Shlema to my wife, Chavamuna, and also my Malka Rivka. That I have before Shlema. And all my kids, all my family, Bracha, let us, all of everybody have Siyata Shemaya. And let this be for anybody out there also who needs a before Shlema. It's Parnasa. Let this video be in the schut of anything that you guys need. Also.
Amen.
Okay.
Amazing. Yeah. So this video, we decided to talk about who was Akiva and Chava before our journey to Judaism, because a lot of people ask us, like, what was our background before? What did we do, right? And we shared really briefly a little bit, and I think a lot of people don't really know the history of, like, what were we doing before this life, right? So we thought this video will kind of go into depth a little bit more of what we did professionally for a profession.
So we don't have no script, so we might be all over the place. So just go with us, flow with us. You know, we
never have a script.
Yeah, we don't really do scripts that much. So we're just gonna start talking. Hopefully you're not bored with it. And
so I'll start off. Yeah, I'll start off. So we talked about Akiva and I. We met, right? When we first started our journey, we were not Akiva, Nachman, and Chava Muna. It was Ladero Harts and Danielle Harts. Now, we don't like to talk about that and say that, but if you guys look in our past videos, that's how we did introduce ourselves.
It seems so
that's
weird.
Not who we are now.
So weird to hear it. It's so weird to say it.
It is. But okay, so Akiva and I, we met at the age of 19 and 20 years old. You guys had heard the story a little bit. We met at a nightclub, and was not expecting to meet my husband that night. And it was nothing but, I feel like we hit it off just that night. And from there, we were like inseparable. And so 10 months later, we ended up getting married. And, you know, at the time, I just want to state this, though, that night, though, when we did meet, he was passing out a flyer. And it was a flyer that was about his music. And I've never heard of him. I didn't know what he did. I lived actually about 45 to 50 minutes away from where he lived, which was Detroit, downtown Detroit. And I was living all the way in Rochester Hills, Michigan. So that's a nice 45-minute drive. So decided to go to a nightclub in downtown Detroit with one of my friends. And obviously, when he passed me this flyer, I was like, oh, he's a musician. So he does music. And then, you know, come to find out he does dancing as well, too. And so I'm going to let him go. I'm going to let him go more into depth of his music. Since I talked about it, I'll let him go into depth of like his background, and then I'll jump back in.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I already like alley hooped it to you.
Yeah, alley hooped it. Okay. So, fellas, if you're trying to find your Zebu, she just gave you the playbook, man. I'm telling you. So, I grew up in a very musical family. So that was who I was. Music, creative arts. And so when we met, I was full flow into my music vibe back in Detroit. And so that night I was out promoting. I was out because what I would do, I was with my team, my management, and we would go to all the clubs, all the high schools and middle schools, and we just pass out flyers, like promo marketing flyers of just my music. I had a website, I had songs and all these things. And so it was one night, this particular night, I was with one of my friends, and we were going to a club, and like way ahead, I see, I see her, and it was one of those little slow motion situations. It was just like, oh, oh. Right? Everything just kind of stood still, just slow, and I was like captivated. It was just crazy. And so she was standing outside of a club and eventually going into a club that I was going into, which I found out once I met her. So she was talking to this guy, and this guy I actually knew. He was a big promoter. Yeah, he was also a photographer, so he was talking to her about pictures, right? And at least that's what he said. But no, he was a cool dude. So promoting, things like that. And what was I saying? Oh, and so I literally I went up to him, and I pushed my friend out of the way, and I only did that because I knew him, right? And so then I introduced myself to her, and she found out she was going into the club that I was getting ready to go into, and yeah, so went in, and then she kind of tells the story a little also about kind of what you thought when you saw the flyer. So I gave her one of my flyers, and then she was kind of feeling me.
Okay. Okay.
I ain't lying though. I ain't lying.
Okay. I wasn't paying attention to that flyer until I actually got home, to be honest with you, but I was more captivated by him because obviously we had a different life during this time, right? And so we're going to nightclubs and doing things like that. I was actually drinking a lot, and something that I obviously don't do anymore. But during that time, I was just young and dumb and making not the best decisions. But I was drinking that night, and he comes up, and he's like at the bar that I'm at, and I see him, and then I'm like, hey, what are you drinking? And he's like, water. And I'm like, okay, like, what are you drinking? He's like, water. And he didn't drink. So at that time, he did not drink. So it's like, wow, this is really good boy. Like, he's not drinking. And when he's talking to me, he's actually looking me in my eyes. He's not, looking me up and down. And like most men would do, especially in a nightclub. No, he's actually like talking to me and looking to my eyes. And I think that for me was very intriguing because most men weren't talking to me like that. Which is unfortunate, but I guess in society during that time, in society still, that's not how it was. And so he was just very respectful, and I think that's what really drew me into him, and that's why I gave him my number. And
but the nightclub though, you skipped the part where I didn't get you in.
Oh, okay, that's a big deal to him. I don't know why he thinks this is such a big deal, but he could have got me into the club, and he did not get me into the club.
I'm trying to give the guys the playbook. Man.
I was like, wow, I'm surprised this guy. And you know what? That was a bracha for him that I ended up going, because I could have been like, wow, I couldn't get in. What if I didn't go?
See, this is why we got to talk about this part.
Because I could have not entered in and said, wow, I didn't get in for free and I have to pay for another club. I don't know. So thank God that I did, huh? So yes, he didn't. I think that was like in his little playbook, I guess he says, of like being smooth and not paying for me. So he didn't seem like a desperate guy, which
Yeah.
he was not acting desperate at all that entire night. He was playing it super cool, like he says. Didn't even see him the entire night until that end of the night, like I said, when I saw him at the bar. But obviously, he tells me, and I say obviously, but he tells me that he was staring at me like the whole time from VIP.
Facts.
And I was not in VIP.
Facts.
And I didn't know that he was staring at me. But it wasn't until like the very end of the night that we actually started talking, and then we started dancing, and then that's where we hit it off and we exchanged numbers. And then I think 2 weeks later, after that night, we went on our first date, and it was actually really sweet. He took me to a carnival and invited his brother, his little brother.
Shout out to my brother.
I was like, this is probably the cutest thing, because my mom was like super nervous. She's like, who is this guy from Detroit? You don't even know him. You're like, where is he taking you? I was like, he's taking me to a carnival, Mom, with his brother. And she's like, oh, okay. So I don't know, made her calm down a little bit. So that's the beginning of how all of that started. Okay, fast forward 10 months later, we get married. Where do we get married? Las Vegas.
Las Vegas,
guys.
baby. Las Vegas. I'm trying to get you the playbook, man.
That's not the playbook.
It's not the playbook.
Don't use that.
Not a Jewish way. Like as you can hear, this is like definitely not the Jewish way. You know what I mean?
The 10 months later is
you're not in the dance club. You're not dancing together and then you get the phone number, right? I mean, at least not in a religious Jewish world.
No.
You know, that's not how things go. Right?
But we like to say there was like little points, like 10 months later. Come on, getting married. That's not common actually in the secular world to like get married so fast. So that was actually considered fast to like our family and everything
100%.
like that. And so we get married in Vegas. Why do we get married in Vegas? Because we think it's so cool. Our last name is Hart. And also we get married on Valentine's Day because our last name is Hart.
Boom.
But let me tell you, that was not the smartest thing, because everybody celebrates that day. And when you have to make reservations to go out to eat or a restaurant, guess what? Everybody's celebrating that day.
Yep.
So then every anniversary, it's a packed night. And after we were like, wow, we really didn't think that went through.
It was what Hashem wanted.
But thank God we don't really celebrate that anniversary because we have a new one now.
We don't celebrate it at all.
So it's look at that. Hashem's kindness. He's so good.
It's crazy.
Okay, so now going from that, we get married, right? We have our first daughter literally a year after getting married. And we decided, while I was pregnant, I was 3 months pregnant, while we were still living in Detroit, we decided to pack up and move to Los Angeles, California. And why did we move to Los Angeles, California? Passing the mic to you.
We moved to Los Angeles because that was the place where artists would grow. Right? I was a singer, I was a dancer, but I really moved at that time for professional dancing. I was really into it at that time. And I wanted to really take it to the next level. I had a lot of connections out there in LA, and I wanted to tour. I wanted to be a working professional dancer. So being in LA where all of the auditions were happening, it only made sense to be there. So we packed up. We went on full Amuna. But I'm gonna tell you, like we didn't really have nothing settled. So we reached out to our friends. They live there. And they let us just crash in their living room while she's pregnant, and we're sleeping on the air mattress. How long did we stay there? 2-3 months?
I think we were there for at least 3 to 4 months actually.
Yeah, so we were there, sleeping on a mattress. 3 other people in the house.
3 months. 3 months on.
Yeah, right. And so, but we got there. Like that was the goal, the prize of being in LA. And we really started. We really to try to start a life there, and so went to auditions, and I got an agent very fast as soon as I moved there. So that really kind of helped propel things. I started teaching dance at a very popular dance studio out in LA, and so that was my thing. That was my thing. I wanted to take it to the next level.
Which is interesting because he went from, when we were in Detroit, he went from his music career and then stopped that to then wanting to do professional dancing and like touring. And that's why we moved to California. And so music was on a pause from at that point. It was just focusing on dancing, touring,
Yeah.
and all of that. And so he actually ended up doing, really good after we got there. He booked a few things, went on tours for a few things, and he booked a major artist literally before having our daughter. A matter of fact, his first rehearsal was the next day. Like, I literally had my daughter in the middle of the night. It was like 3 hours later he had his first rehearsal.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So yeah, I think I had her at like 5 a.m. Around 5 a.m. His rehearsal was at 8 a.m. So it was
Yeah.
like,
I'll tell you too. Like, I mean, I look back, and I traveled around the world. I went to a lot of places, over 100 different countries, and I performed in these places, and it was the most incredible experience, on one end, but also it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, and it was also it wasn't smart to do. It wasn't smart to do, especially that early in our marriage, while she's pregnant, and then it's in the secular world, right? I was with a major artist, and I'm gonna share who this artist is because something happened within this time of me working with her that was very, very significant, which I think you should know. Her name is Missy Elliott. So some of you guys may know, some of you guys may not know, but Missy Elliott was the biggest artist that I've ever worked with. But we traveled, we toured, and but the secular world, right, is not the road life and all these things. It's not the healthiest. It's not healthy at all. Period.
especially if you're
And
married and have kids.
especially if you're married and have kids, right? So people aren't going on tour married. So all of my friends or
Yes,
people
they
who were
are.
single,
I
most
mean,
of them not.
they
I would
were at
say,
least dating, but not.
yeah,
Some were married, but then we've seen what happened to their marriages. It's
yeah.
unfortunate.
And so, all of my friends were, most of them were single guys. And so you hang around single guys, then you want to do single guy things. And so I was just, it was a very, very tough time for me. And so, but this, um, this opportunity of me being able to tour with her, Missy Elliott, it was life changing, and this was one of Hashem's ways. I mean, all of it was obviously Hashgacha Prati,
All of
but
it.
this was something, especially looking back now, that was a big staple, just a big pivotal moment. I mean, of Hashem, just like, okay, I'm trying to get your attention for something. I have a big plan. So one of the destinations for the tour was Israel.